How's it going, everybody? Welcome back to another video. Now in today's video, I'm going to do a bit of a tier list ranking of some of these Star Wars games that I've played. Now I was going to do a list of every single Star Wars game that I've ever played ever, and I realized that the list was just so large that it would end up being like a half an hour plus video. So these are the ones that really stood out to me. So I'm going to be ranking these ones, and I'll go into why these ones are on my list and where I'm going to put them and stuff. And I would imagine some of you are probably going to disagree with me, which is fine. These are just my personal opinion. And yeah, let's start us off with Star Wars Kinect. This is pretty memorable for me because I had a Kinect on the Xbox 360. They kind of forced it down your throat, like the Kinect was the next big thing and it was such a big deal, and Kinect Star Wars was like changing the way that you play video games, and I tried it out and it was absolutely horrible. It is going straight to F tier. The Kinect was all wonky, like the motion capture didn't work. I would be like waving my arms and trying to do force pushes and it didn't do anything. And then it had that dance mode, which was just, it got turned into a meme because it was so cringy. It was just a horrible Star Wars experience. Like one of the worst Star Wars games, probably one of the worst video games I've ever played in my entire life. It was just bad. And it's embarrassing that it has that Star Wars logo slapped on it. Right off the bat, this one's probably going to be the lowest out of all the remaining games. So next up we have, I'll grab this one. This is the Super Nintendo, it's called Super Star Wars. It's based off of A New Hope. And there was 3 games, hence why they're all here, for the Super Nintendo. And these were the first ever Star Wars games that I played ever in my entire life. My dad just got me introduced to Star Wars. He showed me the movies as a kid, and then he started buying me these games for Super Nintendo. So these hold a special place in my heart. The first one, it was okay. They were just really difficult to play as a kid. They had some frame rate problems. The bosses wouldn't load correctly. And back then, this Star Wars game, I could never beat it. I'd make it clear to the final mission, but if you died, you had to start the entire game over. You only had a certain amount of lives. So I would always make it to the final level as a kid, and you would have to do the trench run, and Darth Vader would show up in his TIE fighter behind you, and I could never figure it out. I could never do the trench run, and I would always die. And this was before they had passcodes. Eventually, for the other games, they came out with codes where once you got to a different level, if you wrote down the code, you could just type in the code and it would take you straight to that level. Well, this one didn't have that, so it was really fun. First Star Wars game I ever played. So I'm going to give this one probably a B. I think that's pretty fair. I don't think it was the best game ever, but it also wasn't the worst. And then up next we have the next version, which was based off of Empire. They made quite a few improvements on this game compared to the first one. Like you had force powers and stuff as Luke. I think you had saber throw. I don't remember off the top of my head what the powers were, but this was the one that I actually beat. Out of the 3, this is the only one I could beat from start to finish. I don't remember. I think the final mission is where you face Vader. I can't tell off the top of my head. I just know that I liked this one the most because I could actually beat it as a kid, and I didn't have to use the codes to like go to different levels. I could just beat it straight through. It was pretty difficult. I remember there was like the Hoth mission, and I think the Wampa was one of the bosses. So I'm going to give this one probably a B as well. I think that's pretty deserving. And then I might as well rank the third one. The third one I thought was also really, really good. I could not beat this one. Same as the first one, I would make it clear to the final mission. The final mission in this one is you had to take the Falcon and you had to escape the exploding Death Star, which I just could not beat it. The mission before the final mission, you have to face Emperor Palpatine, and I could kill Palpatine with ease compared to the Falcon mission, so I could never beat it. Even with this game, it gave you codes to like get to the final level, and I would just go straight to the final level and try to beat it, and I just could never do it. So this one, I'm actually going to give probably a C, because I think in my memory, I just didn't like the third one as much as the other two. But one thing I did like about the third one was they had some sort of deal where I got it at GameStop, and there was a bundle where if you bought this game, it came with an exclusive controller, which was different from every other Super Nintendo controller. It was like shaped weird, and I was like super excited as a kid. I was like, oh my god, a new controller, and it's different from everybody else's. But the controller was designed so badly. It was just a really bad controller. But as for the game, I'm giving it a C. Then up next we have Star Wars The Phantom Menace on PlayStation. I played the crap out of this game as a kid. I played it so much. I can't even begin to describe to you how much I played this game. I even bought this game again 10 years later on eBay because I couldn't find the original version, so I rebought it. It had some like RPG aspects to it. You had to like manage your inventories, and I would always goof around in this game, and I'd go around Tatooine and stuff, and I would just slaughter civilians. I'd always get in trouble for failing the mission. I'd either kill Jar Jar or kill Anakin, or it was a great game. There was some interesting boss fights. The map designs were pretty cool. It doesn't hold up today because the graphics are just pretty horrible, but for the time, I thought this game was great. So even though for the time I thought it was great, overall in comparison to some of these other games, I'm going to give this a B. Then up next we have Star Wars Starfighter. This one holds a special place in my heart because there's a funny story behind it. This is the first ever game I played on like the next generation of consoles, which was the original Xbox and the PlayStation 2. Like this was around the time when like my family just got a computer, like a home computer, and my mom was like new to the internet and stuff. Well, back then pop-ups were really bad on the internet. Like pop-ups would just happen constantly, and people that weren't used to the internet would fall for the pop-ups all the time. Like it'd pop up on the screen saying, you won this grand prize, just click here, and it would either be a virus or something. Well, one of those popped up for my mom, and it was like a picture of a skateboarder. I think it was Tony Hawk, and he had a skateboard stuck in his butt, and it said, drag out the skateboard to win. And my mom clicked on the skateboard, and the skateboard popped out of the skateboarder's butt, and it said, you win, and it said, pick your prize. And she chose a Star Wars game because that was the best option out of the ones they offered her. And she actually won from a pop-up. They gave her this game. So this game showed up in the mail, but we couldn't play it because we didn't even have an Xbox yet. So our first ever Xbox game was Star Wars Starfighter, and we got it in the mail off of a pop-up before we even had an Xbox. So it was a fun game. It had some moments to it. It definitely wasn't like the greatest game ever. It definitely had some cool options with the spaceships and stuff. As for ranking it, I'm probably gonna give it a D. I mean, it was fun, but compared to like some of these other games, I think a D is pretty fair for that. And then we have Lego Star Wars: The Complete Saga. The reason I chose The Complete Saga is because it covers everything. I played Lego Star Wars 1 and 2, but for me personally, the Lego Star Wars games I feel are overrated. It kind of feels like the same thing over and over and over. Like when I played The Complete Saga and it covers episodes 1 through 6, it's kind of the same as when I played Lego Star Wars 2 and I just played through 1 through 3. So I enjoyed the Lego Star Wars games. Like I enjoyed The Complete Saga. So fun fact, I got invited to a friend's birthday party in middle school and he got Lego Star Wars 2 for his birthday. Well, me and another friend sat there the entire night and beat the game that he got for his birthday. Like we played it start to finish an entire night and beat the thing before the birthday kid even had the chance to play the game. And I felt kind of horrible about it, but at the same time, I mean, it was fun. But for me, I think it's overrated. I don't like it nearly as much as what a lot of people do. So I think it's C worthy, maybe B, but I'm going to put it at C just because I didn't like Lego Star Wars as much as these games. But I will probably get the new one that's coming out in 2020. So next up we have the original Star Wars Battlefront 2. This one is, I mean, I still play on occasion today in 2019. So this game really holds up. It's still fun. It has a lot of stuff to do. There's a lot of maps, just tons of stuff, tons of heroes. It's just a great game. I mean, this one easily goes up to S tier. I think it's just way better than most Star Wars games. Like for the longest time, it was my favorite game ever. and I just think it's phenomenal. It shaped the way for a lot of Star Wars games. Even the new current EA's version of Battlefront 2 has taken a lot of stuff from the original, so I mean, it's just a great game. That's all I have to say about it. And then we have Republic Commando. Republic Commando was like a Navy SEALs kind of game, but based off of these clone commandos. It was the first time we've ever heard of commandos, and it was freaking cool. Like, it had some like horror aspects. Some of the maps were like real spooky. I remember one of the maps was a Star Destroyer, and it was like shut down. It was just floating in space, and you had to figure out what happened to it, and there's a bunch of Trandoshans on it, and it killed everybody. Oh, it was such a good game. But for me, this one goes up to A. I don't think it's good enough to get S. I didn't like it as much as the original Battlefront 2, but I did like it more than all these other games, obviously, and I mean, it was a great game. And then the Commandos afterwards made their way into the Clone Wars, and they even made their way into Battlefront 2 for EA, so great game. And then we have EA's version of Battlefront 2. It's come a long way over 2 years. It came out in 2017. It had the loot box debacle, and its campaign was kind of crappy. And they kind of are leading the way in the whole games as a service thing. And I think they're doing a pretty great job. They average like one update a month. They have something new come to the game pretty much every month. They could do a little bit better with their hot fixes, but they've added tons of stuff, tons of new heroes, tons of new maps, some new vehicles, new reinforcements, tons of stuff has been added to this game. And honestly, I'm gonna have to give it A tier. It's not as good as the original Battlefront 2, but it's getting pretty close. If they keep adding more and more stuff, and we're supposed to get more stuff in December for Battlefront 2, it's a good game. They've come a long way over 2 years. It's been a long ride, and I think it's deserving of A tier. And then we have the original Battlefront. This one shaped the way for everything. I mean, without this, we wouldn't have Battlefront 2 by EA, we wouldn't have Battlefront 2 the original, we wouldn't have 2015 Battlefront. This one changed everything. Now, it's definitely not as good as its sequel, but I still think it was a good game. You could go prone, you could lay it down in the grass and stuff. I remember that. I remember it had some unique maps. It had the Naboo planes, I remember that, and it had the shield generators with the Gungans. But you couldn't sprint in the game, which was pretty annoying. And you couldn't play as heroes yet, which was also annoying. They just showed up as AI. So I do think it was a really good game, but I just don't think it was as good as some of these others. So I'm going to put this in B tier. And then we have Jedi Fallen Order. I mean, this is a new game, came out this year by Respawn. It's not as long as what I hoped it would have been. There's a lot of stuff I liked about that game. It added more to the lore. It had really good combat. Its customization kind of lacked. We still don't know if there's going to be any DLC or like a horde mode or anything. But from my initial impressions, I really enjoyed the game. I keep feeling like I want to go back and play it. There just isn't anything for me to do in it, which really sucks, but I really, really like this game. And for me, I'm going to put this in A tier just because of how much I enjoyed it and how much I want to go back and play it some more. And if they add like a horde mode or something, which I really hope they do, it's got potential to be one of my favorite Star Wars games ever. Like it can only go up one more spot to S tier. Even if they add a horde mode and whatever, I still, like, it's not gonna have as much content as EA's Battlefront 2 or the original Battlefront 2. So I think it will just always stay in A tier. Yeah, I really enjoyed Fallen Order. And then we have EA's 2015 Battlefront. This game sold a lot of copies. There was a 10-year gap between Battlefront 2 and EA's Battlefront. There was a lot of hype. The graphics looked amazing. It had heroes. It had tons of stuff. But if you look back at it, this game had no content. Like, the base game basically had as much content as the beta, because the beta for this game let you play on Hoth. And then when you bought the game for full price, $60, it came with like 4 maps, 5 maps maybe. It had no campaign. It had a crappy like AI mode where you just killed bots and stuff. And there was just like nothing to do. Like, I love the gameplay. I love the weapon variety. I like the hero gameplay. I played the crap out of this game. That's what built this channel. Me being good at 2015 Battlefront. But when it comes to like the content, they were really scummy with their DLC. Like if you wanted to have any more content and have any extra fun with the game and have Dengar or Greedo or Nyan Num or Jin and Krennic and like all these other heroes, you had to spend a crap ton of extra money, and it just was not worth the price tag. So for me, even though I really enjoyed the gameplay and stuff, and this has a lot of good memories, I'm going to give it the C tier just because of like how scummy they were with just slapping the Battlefront name on it and trying to make as much money as possible. And then we get down to The Force Unleashed, Force Unleashed 2, and Jedi Outcast. So The Force Unleashed, I thought it was really good. It was a new change of pace. You got to play as a bad guy for like the first time ever, although you did kill stormtroopers, but it was still fun. I really loved how you could like change your costumes and stuff, and I really liked the idea of you being a Jedi that survived and Vader's trying to hunt you down, and then Vader takes you in and he makes you be his apprentice, and it had a few plot twists, like you could fight Vader at the end and it gave you different choices and it could change your outcome. And they didn't really set it up for Force Unleashed 2, which is why I think Force Unleashed 2 lacks a little bit, which I'll get into. But for the Force Unleashed, the original, I'm going to give it B tier. I really enjoyed it. I think it was a great game. And then for the Force Unleashed 2, it was good. Like I really liked the improvements they made, the combat, the force powers and stuff, the graphics. They added more costumes and more saber colors you could change and stuff. But it was very, very short. Like you could beat it in like 5 or 6 hours. It was not set up good at all with the plot. They just sort of made something up. They're like, oh, your character is a clone. Because the first game, they had no idea they were going to make a sequel. And then the ending of Force Unleashed 2 doesn't make any sense at all, because no matter what choice you make, they didn't make a third one, so it's just a huge plot hole no matter what. But the game isn't canon. It was a fun game, but it was so short. I'm honestly probably going to give it D tier, because even though it was fun, if I can beat the game in like 6 hours and I spent full price on it, that's a ripoff in my opinion. So it's going down to D tier. And then we have Jedi Outcast. I also played Jedi Academy. Like I said, there's a ton of games that I unfortunately just couldn't get to because the list would be so massive. So I decided to put Jedi Outcast on this list over Academy because I played Outcast more. These games really shaped the way for saber combat. I mean, I like the story mode. You go through, you can choose which force powers you want. You can either have light side powers or dark side powers. And then there was the like arcade mode thing where you could just fight bots with lightsabers. And it gave you hours and hours of fun. And you could like cut off limbs. It had actual dismemberment, which was great. Like it's so cool to have a lightsaber and you throw your lightsaber and it cuts off someone's arm. That's the kind of stuff I like. So even by today's standards, the lightsaber combat in these games like Outcast and Academy was great. So I really enjoyed this game. I played it a crap ton as a kid, and this one for me also would go into the B category. But that does it for my tier list. These are some of the ones that I played the most in my childhood, and these are just some of the games that I liked the most out of all the Star Wars games I played. Like I said, there are more Star Wars games that I have played, but there's just so many out there that this video would go on forever. But yeah, that's going to do it for my list. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section down below. If you guys were to rank these games, where would you put them? I'm interested to see your guys' thoughts. If you guys enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up. Subscribe if you are new here. Check out another video, and I will talk to you all next time.
We would be honored if you would join us. You cannot resist